Hi everybody, this is Rebecca Lynn Barkley, aka Boobop1970. This is my review for a day. And today's review, ladies and dudes, well my friends, it's that time again for another top 5 list that nobody has never done before. And this top 5 list is something that I have never done before. And it involved the time from a couple of months ago that I decided to do my own Taken fanfiction stories. In the sense, I did found a website, and there's a couple of them here and there where there's some fans out there who did make up their own fanfiction stories of Taken, and there's no Taken fanfiction story that I'm going to be freaking interested in. But anyway, I decided to make up my own Taken fanfiction stories, if you know what I mean. So anyway, for my brand new top 5 list is the top 5 most greatest ideas from my fan fiction stories. And I worked really hard on all of them, or maybe some. But I gotta continue on working on my Benjamin Williams story. I'm gonna do like a 2-part event. One is Benjamin Williams' flashback, and the other is when he teamed up with Brian Mills. So anyway, without further ado, ladies and dudes, here are my top 5 most greatest ideas that I made from my Taken fanfiction stories. So let's head on to my list. And I got it right here on a piece of paper. Okay, at number 5 is going to be when I decided to add a brand new character to the story. The one that we had never seen in the last 2 Taken films for both 1 and 2. And I always dreamed if the creators, director, producer, whoever these people are, I just wish that when they made Taken 3, I want them to add a brand new character that we had never seen before. And it needs to be a good guy character this time. So anyway, for number 5, I decided to add Benjamin Williams to my Taken fanfiction stories. I will say that adding a brand new character in a fanfiction story is a pretty interesting idea. And I think Benjamin Williams will be the one who took the cake. After all, I need to continue on writing my Benjamin Williams story. I'm almost done for part 1. I need to work on part 2 because I need more supply of papers to work on the Benjamin Williams story. But anyway, I did add Benjamin Williams on my second Taken fanfiction story of Brian Lenore's Most Magical Date. And one of the best moments I ever written about Benjamin Williams is that he and Brian were talking together on the phone. You know where Brian Mills is. He's, in the bedroom with Lenore while Benjamin Williams is at London, and he is making friends with a big giant claw called Big Ben. And there were a couple of funny moments here and there for what Benjamin said to Brian about you know what, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I decided to add a good friendship story between Brian Mills and Benjamin Williams, and since they knew each other for a very long time, like 20-something years ago, and they had a lot of good and bad times together, and so on and so forth. So anyway, to cut this short, I decided to put Benjamin Williams at the number 5 spot. And I really want Al Rickman to play that character. For real. So, okay. Anyway, move on to number 4. And number 4 is right here. Me, Boobop1970, as the wacky narrator. And yes, my friends, I decided to put myself in the story as your wacky narrator. I think it's a good idea if I could be a narrator for once in my own Taken fanfiction stories. And yes, my friends, there were some moments here and there where I could add some funny moments to the story. Where I could say a wacky dialogue, or The time when I eat a Kit Kat bar? Or maybe the part where I go on a wacky panic if Brian Mills is going to do something to be a little bit carried away. If you know what I mean. So yeah, to cut this short, ladies and dudes, I decided to add myself as a wacky narrator at the number 4 spot. Sorry, my mistake. It's at number 4, but anyway, let's go on to number 3. At number 3, here's an unknown question that nobody has never heard before. And this one is going to be very embarrassing. Does Brian Mills have another type of particular set of skills that nobody have never seen or heard before? And it came from my second Taken fanfiction story, Brian Lenore's Most Magical Day, where he's going to do you-know-what to Lenore. So anyway, for number 3 is Brian Mills is going to get carried away by making love to Lenore with some type of particular set of skills that nobody had never heard before. Now the reason why I want to add that on the list is I think it'll be a cool idea if we could get to know some of the secrets that Brian Mills had never unlocked yet back in the last 2 Taken films. And yeah, some skills that doesn't involve fighting, but what will happen if he used some type of particular set of skills where he's going to make love to Lenore, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I made up a good idea for that, and the main problem I had of making that idea with some particular set of skills that Brian Mills had never used before is I'm not sure how the heck it's going to work, so I did the best I can to write something down on a piece of paper where Brian Mills is going to do you-know-what to Lenore. So anyway, to cut this short, I decided to put that type of moment at number 3. And for number 2 is, to tell you the truth is, when I looked at this unknown website that involves the Taken fanfiction stories, I'm trying to find one good fanfiction story that I really like. If somebody wrote down a Brian and a Lenore story, something that any of us had never written before. And yeah, I was freaking disappointed to those fans who never wrote a fanfiction story that is all about Brian and Lenore's relationship. Anyway, for number 2 is I decided to make up my own fanfiction stories about Brian and Lenore's relationship. And to tell you the truth, ladies and dudes, I had a really fun time of making up my own fanfiction stories about Brian and Lenore's relationship. It was the most funnest part about making up fanfiction stories is because, to tell you the truth is, I'm becoming such a Brian Lenore fan, and I really, really do enjoy them as a couple. And I hope and pray in the future, I really want to see them together in Taken 3, where they could put up their differences, sharing their feelings to each other, and I really want them to be remarried, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I had a really, really fun time of making up my own fanfiction stories, where Brian and Lenore had some moments together on their relationship. I made one story that took place at the end of Taken 1 before Taken 2 begins, and the second fanfiction story took place at the near end of Taken 2 before we could see some new events for Taken 3. And also, I got something right here on my piece of, here it is. I decided to make up my third Taken fanfiction story that involves Brian and Lenore's relationship, and this will be my last and final one. So, for my last and final fanfiction story is The Pure Memories of Lenore's Past. And I decided to make up a story about where Lenore is remembering all the good times that she had with Brian, and she felt really, really bad for all the things that happened from the last 6 years ago, the time when she and Brian had gotten divorced. And also she felt really bad at her Brian Mills' feelings for what had happened the last 6 years ago when she became the wife of that awful rich man, Stewart. And I also decided for this new Taken fanfiction story, it will be my most saddest story I have ever written. Because I wrote some parts here and there where there's going to be some sad moments that I decided to add to the story where Lenore is thinking about all the good times that she had with Brian and she cannot live without him. It's really, really sad. It's way too hard to tell. So anyway, making up Brian Lenore fanfiction stories deserves to be at number 2. Anyway, ladies and dudes, let's head on to the number 1 most greatest idea that I have ever made for my Taken fanfiction stories. And this one is gonna be kind of wacky, if you know what I mean. Since I love wacky things, and I'm the wacky narrator for it. So anyway, here is my number 1 most greatest, best idea I have ever made in my Taken fanfiction history is this. Adding a Kit Kat bar to the story. I mean it, folks. This is my number 1 choice. I love to add a Kit Kat bar in my own Taken fanfiction stories. And this is the wacky narrator's most famous treat. And yeah, I did add some moments here and there where, you know, the wacky narrator always thinks about a Kit Kat bar. And I want to make it really, really funny, even if it is corny and kind of weird. But I think it's cool to add a nice piece of candy that you can enjoy when you're writing down your favorite fanfiction story. So yeah, adding a Kit Kat bar is fun. And yes, my friends, there was a part in Brian Lenore's Most Magical Day that I decided to make up a cameo appearance. There was a part that I wrote down in my story where Brian and Lenore were talking and they were thinking that they had a really good date and they decided to go their separate ways and all that stuff. And they said goodnight to each other, and then here comes me showing up while I was eating a Kit Kat bar. And one of my most famous lines is, "Hey, wait a minute! That is it? Hey, wait a minute, this is not the true picture I've been looking for. Could you two lovebirds do something else for a chance?" Well, I'm eating a Kit Kat bar. Oh, yeah. Every time I read that part, that was definitely one of my most favorite parts of the story, is I made up a cameo appearance, adding myself in there, as I was watching Brian and Lenore having that moment to each other. And I was laughing my head off. Ha 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 ha. So anyway, ladies and dudes, adding a Kit Kat bar deserves to be the number 1 most craziest part that I ever added in my Taken fanfiction stories. For real. So anyway, ladies and dudes, that's my top 5 most greatest ideas that I have ever made for my Taken fanfiction stories. I hope you enjoyed this list, and tell me, what is your favorite things that you can enjoy from your own fanfiction stories? If it's from a movie, TV show, anime, music, whatever, just leave a comment there and let me know. And join me next time that I promise to all of you that I will do my top 5 most surprising moments in movie history. And also, join me tomorrow as I do my quick edition of Boobot 1907's Most Quick Video Part 8. So be prepared for my new videos to come, and I'll see you all later. Sayonara.